So you're thinking about moving to New Braunfels. Well, I definitely have some things that you need to know about what critters we have and bugs we have. So stay tuned. Hello everyone, I'm Doug Vogel. I'm a real estate agent and a firefighter here in New Braunfels. If this is your first time visiting this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. On this channel, I talk about anything to do with living, working, playing here in New Braunfels. So if you're thinking about moving here and have questions, make sure you call me, text me, email, whatever works best for you. So let's get started with our video. So you're thinking about moving to Braunfels, and that's a great choice. But there's some things that you need to know about the animals and critters that are here. One is the white-tailed deer. They're everywhere, especially around town and out in the hill country. They're great to watch, and during the springtime they have their babies, and the babies are have little specks on them, or speckles, and they're running all over the place. They're fun to watch. And then in the fall, the big bucks are coming out. You never see them until about October, November, and that's always fun to see. But also the deer can be kind of a little pesky. One is that they don't look both ways crossing the street. So you have to be able to really watch out for them when you're driving, especially at night, because here in Braunfels we have quite a few accidents as a result of deer hitting them and stuff. Also, one thing is that if your yard is not fenced and you want to have a garden, then you probably won't have a garden for too long. I know that from experience of having plants and flowers and stuff, is that the deer will come one night and eat them up. So you have to make sure you have some kind of a fence around your garden, or your plants and stuff like that, because they will eat them, especially in the wintertime when food is a little more scarce. They will eat them up for sure. And so it's kind of aggravating going out there the next day and everything's gone. So moving on to raccoons. Raccoons are definitely here in town, and they up in the trees and stuff like that. They come out at night, and they are kind of a pesky little animal. I mean, they're kind of cute to look at, but they can be pretty ferocious, and you want to avoid them, especially during the daytime. One little thing that happened to my family and I is we went camping at a local state park, and there's signs saying make sure that you put your coolers inside your car, and because of raccoons. Well, I did not heed to the warning, and we left our cooler out outside of our tent and outside the car, and the next morning we went to get our food out of the cooler and our lunch meat and stuff, and it was gone. And sure enough, a pesky little raccoon was able to work its way into our cooler and get our food out and take off with it. So a little funny story there, and my kids always laugh about it and tell me that they told me so to put the cooler in the car, but I didn't. So anyways, raccoons, we have possums. Possums are like a large rat. It's an animal. It's part of the rat family. They come out at night as well, and they can be pretty mean and not very cute to look at either. So one additional thing we have, occasionally you'll see some foxes running around. They're pretty scared of people, and you'll see them in the evenings at night, kind of darting around town. One thing, especially on the west side of town and out in the hill country, you see is wild pigs or wild boars. Now these pigs are wild, and they can get really aggressive. So you have to be very careful. Yes, they're scared of people, but they will also protect their young as well. So that's one thing some of these neighborhoods out west of town are having issues with, is the wild pigs coming into people's yards and rooting up their ground and their yards and stuff like that. But also, kids are outside playing in the evenings. You just have to watch them. For the most part, the pigs are nocturnal, so you don't have to really worry about them during the daytime. But it's just something that you need to know, that they can get several hundred pounds. So you got to watch out for them, and they're only actually getting worse. The numbers of them. So definitely for animal wise, that's just some things that you need to know about New Braunfels. One is the deer. they're great, and a lot of people just feed them here in town, although here in the Braunfels that is prohibited by ordinance now, but it still happens. And so they're great to watch and relaxing and stuff like that to see. And the pigs, you just got to be aware that, especially west of town, that they're here and they're not going anywhere. It's just but put up a good fence, and your yard will be just fine for them. Now that we talked about the animals, let's talk about the reptiles here in the Braunfels. And we have several of them. We have a lot of lizards here in town, and it doesn't matter what part of town you live at, you're going to have lizards around, which are great. They're getting lots of crickets and bugs and stuff like that, and they're all over the place. And occasionally you may have one slip into your garage or even in your house, and you can just kind of scoop them up and put them back outside where they belong. So you'll see lizards scooting around, which is a good thing. So speaking of reptiles, we do have some snakes here in the Braunfels that you need to know about. One is we have like a rat snake, which is it can get to be about 2 to 3 feet long, and usually they're out in the grassy areas and fields and getting mice and rats and stuff like that. And for the most part, you don't have any issues with them. Now, if you do live in a wood, near a wooded area or even a green belt area here in the Braunfels, you may see one slithering through your yard. So, but for the most part, they're going to keep on going and not bother you at all. So we do have some other types of snakes that you need to know about. One is the coral snake, and it has multiple colors. One way to remember that is red on black, friend of Jack. If the red and black meet, it's a friend of Jack. And if it's red on yellow, kill a fellow. So if the red and yellow are the bands for a coral snake are touching, then it's a poison snake. But for the most part, coral snakes are, again, not really aggressive, and yes, they're poisonous, but it takes a lot for them to get to bite you. So we do have some copperheads, which are like in copper in color. They're for the most part in dark places and kind of rocky areas, and you'll see them more west of town. And something from experience is that if you see one, usually there's two, and it seems like they run in pairs. I don't know if there's scientific data behind that, but just from my experience, if you see one, you look closely, you may find a second one close to it. So just a little food for thought on that. Now, the biggest snake that we need to talk about is the rattlesnake, and especially west of town and the rocky areas, and that's just something that you need to know, is that we do have rattlesnakes in all different sizes and shapes and lengths, and just because you live on the west side of town doesn't mean that you're not going to see one. I killed one from my neighbor. I lived on the east side here in the Braunfels, and just a quick story is that his dog was barking. It was in the evening, and his dog was in a kennel, and the dog just kept barking and barking. And I told my wife, I was like, "There's something wrong over there." And so I went outside, and sure enough, I looked inside in the kennel to see why the dog was barking, and there was a big old rattlesnake coiled up, and the dog was luckily had plenty of room not to be too close to it, but still barking. And so anyways, I had to go over there and take care of the snake and get it out of there for my neighbor, because he wasn't even there. So that's not the norm, but it does happen. And like I said, that was on the east side of 35, but we did have a little green belt behind us. So it's just one thing, living in Texas, especially in the hill country, you're gonna have bugs, snakes, and all that good stuff. But man, the Braunfels is such a great place to live, and those are such minor things, and that may or may not even affect you at all. So that's what one reason, like I said, the Braunfels is so great to be at. Now that we've talked about the animals, let's talk about some of the bugs. And this can be a little sticky point for some people, and like my wife and a couple of my kids, they don't like the bugs, which I get. And so let's start out with the wasp and bees. We have honeybees just like anybody else, which is a good thing. And we have mud daubers, which are a little black or dark brown wasps that usually build a nest a mud nest on the outside of the wall, or maybe in your garage. For the most part, they'll leave you alone. One thing that you need to watch out for is the red wasp. They're super aggressive, and when they sting you, it hurts. Last year I got stung on my earlobe, and man, it hurt for a couple days. It was a good sting. I've been stung by a lot, but one of those really hurt. So moving on from the flying insects, we also have mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are sometimes really bad during the summertime. My wife, she's like a magnet to them. They just like her blood type for some reason, and so they sometimes swarm you, and there's just times a year you just don't want to be outside. But for the most part, during the daytime, you're good to go. Talking about other types of animals is ants. We have fire ants, and man, those suckers hurt, and they'll pop up in your yard, and if you step in them, especially barefoot, stuff like that, before you know it, you got a whole 100 of them around your ankles. So they'll leave little whelps on you. So especially people that are allergic to things like that, that can be an issue. We do have centipedes that'll sting you as well, and we live in the hill country, and especially out west, we have lots of stuff that stings and bites. So it's things you need to know about. Talking about stinging, we also have scorpions, especially west of town. They like the rocky areas, and so if you spray around your house from the outside, for the most part they'll stay outside. But when they sting you, you'll know it for sure. It's a doozy. So we have other types of bugs in the summer, and like June bugs and just things like that are just from this area. So overall, it's a great, Braunfels is a great place, and yes, we have our bugs, but nothing that you can't really take care of with a little bit of spray or just using caution when you're out and about. We've talked a lot about the bugs and animals that you need to know about here in the Braunfels, and I'm sure I've missed a few that you probably need to know about, but for the most part, as long as you keep your distance from them, they'll stay away from you, and spray around the outside of your home, and most of the bugs and insects will stay out of your home as well. So if you have questions about moving to New Braunfels, living here, or what to do here, reach out to me. I'd love to answer questions from people just like you that are considering that big move or change here to New Braunfels. So until the next video, I'll see you soon.